Today we need to talk about the 17,000 person emergency room evacuation. Because when global medical experts discuss the structural challenges facing universal healthcare, they usually focus on funding shortages and administrative bottlenecks. But if you examine the United Kingdom during a major international football tournament, you will discover a highly unscientific phenomenon that completely redefines medicine. National data analysts recently uncovered an absolutely staggering statistical anomaly buried deep within the operational records of the National Health Service, the NHS. According to empirical figures, up to 17,000 fewer citizens choose to visit emergency rooms while the national football squad is actively competing on television. And to appreciate the structural absurdity of this finding, international onlookers must understand the chronic anxiety surrounding British medical waiting times. On any standard afternoon, a minor domestic mishap would send the average citizen rushing to the local hospital to secure immediate professional care. Yet, the moment 22 men chasing a football across a grass field, a spectacular collective wave of spontaneous physical healing apparently sweeps across the population. The data heavily implies that thousands of ordinary individuals are currently sitting inside crowded public houses, experiencing real bodily trauma, yet completely refusing medical assistance. And we are talking about dedicated sports fans who are actively waving off fractured bones and severe lacerations because they believe the second half is infinitely more important than anatomical survival. Imagine the sociological comedy of a local tavern functioning as an ad hoc triage center where the primary qualification for medical clearance is simply your ability to hold a pint of lager. You might witness a gentleman drop a heavy object onto his foot only to casually dismiss the internal injury because a striker is approaching the penalty box. If a concerned bystander points out that their limb is resting at an unnatural angle, the injured fan will simply insist the swelling will subside the moment the manager makes a substitution. And it completely redefines stoic endurance, transforming physical suffering into a minor inconvenience managed with another round of beverages and salty snacks. And this administrative absurdity presents an incredible logistical contrast to the medical professionals working inside the actual hospital wards. For exactly 90 minutes, emergency rooms across the United Kingdom experience a serene tranquility, with corridors normally overflowing with patients suddenly resembling a quiet library. The nursing staff can only stand by in absolute bewilderment, fully aware that this peace is not a victory for medicine, but a truce dictated by the broadcasting schedule. And there is a profound irony in a society that treats the health service as a sacred treasure, yet is prepared to completely abandon clinical treatment for a tense penalty shootout. And foreign observers looking at the British cultural landscape must marvel at the psychological dedication required to prioritize a corner kick over immediate surgical intervention. It turns out that the ultimate anesthetic discovered by modern science is not a pharmaceutical compound, but the raw anxiety of a high-stakes football fixture. However, the true logistical catastrophe of this phenomenon occurs the exact microsecond the referee blows the final whistle to conclude this athletic spectacle. And the moment the broadcast cuts to the post-match analysis, the spell of spontaneous physical resilience is instantly broken across the entire geography of the nation. And suddenly, thousands of citizens collectively realize that their injuries are, in fact, incredibly painful, triggering a massive, unprecedented migration from local bar stools directly toward the hospital registration desks. And the emergency rooms are instantly bombarded by an absolute tidal wave of limping patriots, all attempting to explain to an exhausted triage nurse how they managed to ignore a dislocated shoulder for the past 3 hours.